how the Ukraine war started. A bunch of Ivy League, State Department, CIA people concocted that thing, made bad decision, senseless decision after senseless decision after senseless decision. And, you know,
can you elaborate? I mean, we have this entire portion towards the end of the interview, but
yeah.
crank it out right
now. So the Ukraine war was started by...
You say this is the biggest propaganda war of all time.
Yes,
correct?
It should be called the propaganda war. The fighting's real. Everything we've been told about it is basically a lie. And every piece of history that shows it's a lie has been either kicked under the rug or lied about too. So how the war started? The war started when the Obama administration, I don't say U.S., because the Ukraine war could not have started with any other administration, because it couldn't have started without the press as part of the group that was going to provide cover for starting it. And they were all in on the start of the Ukraine war. But the U.S. Obama administration, Victoria Nuland, Jake Sullivan, John O'Brien, and Joe Biden. Joe Biden had one job. You can look in his archives as vice president. It was his one job was Ukraine. And Joe Biden and Jake Sullivan, his deputy, were the architects of the start of the war. And the way it started was the State Department and CIA, non-elected officials, along with their counterparts in the EU, Ukrainian politicians, and George Soros's Open Society Foundation, along with the neo-Nazi ultranationalists, created the fake Maidan protests. You can still go online. I checked before I came. Videos are still there, 2014, 15. Look at Maidan protests. You'll see brand new GP mediums in the background. You'll see them serving soup. You'll notice that everyone has these same orange hard hats on, distributed to them. The weapons, you'll see weapons, the same common weapons being held by the ultranationalist neo-Nazis. And then there are interviews. There's BBC and German TV interviews with Ukrainian protesters, and in one of them, all the guy does is ask, "Why are you protesting?" And every single individual that they question says the same thing. I'm here because they told me to be here, and I'm getting paid. And so Victoria Nuland admitted afterwards that the U.S. spent $5 billion in USAID funds to bribe all these people and to make it happen. In February of 2014, the culmination of the Maidan protests was the violent overthrow of the Viktor Yanukovych government, the duly elected government of Ukraine. He was elected not just by Eastern Ukrainians, but by Western Ukrainians. And his election was validated by the UN. But for some reason, they decided we got to overthrow him. And the plan, and this is where this senseless decision-making comes from, and this is all in cables. It's in State Department, CIA cables, and in...
Just for the audience, cables are basically secure emails.
Yes. Good description. It's all in those. They believed that by overthrowing Yanukovych, installing their Ukrainian puppet politicians, and then starting a ethnic war in eastern Ukraine, which is populated by almost 100% ethnic Russians, that by doing that, this would cause so much unrest in Russia that the Russian people would rise up and overthrow Putin. That was the plan. And, you know, when you read that, when you read the cables, when you see that, it's like these, you know, Ivy League, never been in a war, never been in anything real in their life. It's like they were like kids playing with matches, completely unaware of the potential unintended consequences of throwing those matches into a pile of leaves or into something soaked in gas. And what happened afterwards is a classic law of unintended consequences. They had no plan for after they overthrew the government, and in the power vacuum, because they had no plan, the neo-Nazis took over the Ukrainian government.
They had no contingency plans?
No contingencies. And that's why Crimea caught them so by surprise. So you also online, you can go on any of your favorite search engines and just look up Victoria Nuland, Gregory Pyatt. He was the ambassador. She was the head of State Department for the overthrow. Their phone call was intercepted by the Russians and then published on YouTube. Initially, it's on all search engines now. Their phone call is them talking about which Ukrainian politicians that they controlled would be the next prime minister. And this is before the violent overthrow. It's like 2 weeks before. So they're on record talking about who to install in the new government. So it's not a theory. There's a massive trail of evidence that shows exactly what happened, to include open source intelligence, the videotapes that show what's about to happen. So when the neo-Nazis controlled the 5 key ministries of the Ukrainian government, to include the Ministry of Defense. John O'Brien was the head of CIA then. He flew in the day after they overthrew the Yanukovych government, met with the head of the Ukrainian intelligence and the head of MI6. And the very next day, they began the ethnic war on eastern Ukraine, which was really one of the most horrific humanitarian violations in modern history. They just began shelling the civilian areas with artillery and mortars. And again, it's all on video. You can see grandmothers crying in the streets with dead spouses and dead children, and saying, why is our own country doing this to us? Why is our own government doing this to us? The eastern Ukrainian oblasts that have since voted for independence and autonomy, then independence and reunification with Russia, so Crimea, Donetsk, and Luhansk, all 3 of them would have stayed in Ukraine, but they had no choice. Ethnic cleansing began, and between 2014 and 2021, 14,000 ethnic Russian civilians were killed in eastern Ukraine, and most of them by artillery, mortar, and drone attacks.